Reactor online. Sensors online. Weapons online. All systems nominal.
Spiritual was each passing day. Influence grew as they slipped away. Just you trusted us their word, and this each passed on must be heard. Light speed beyond its sky, whispered word waves pass us by. Without our orders, seeing I. Without our orders, seeing I. No one could speak beyond its sky. Without our orders, all seeing I. Said Blake, he trusted us this way, and we became the spear's guiding light. Almost Toma, then forged our faith. Old mankind. Blake, press back. Almost. Venus. Their sacred task to emerge from the grass, and to recite the past, and would seize what we amassed, till they prove our worth at last, until they prove worth at last. Chocolate would change the tide, and heaven's own blood and touch of life. Or for some what they would find, sacred order could no longer guide our long lost core. Our grand design, a long lost core, a long lost core. This core, our grand design. Crossing me all, Good evening, palettes and mercs. How are we doing this evening? Highlander or Clan Executioner? Neither. If you're referring to the thumbnail, that is a champion LAM. Technically not legal, but she's a lot of fun. I still need to get that model. I still need to get the model for that one. That's a charger. For the oh no, that was for another piece. No, that one right there, I think it was supposed to be a rifleman. I think. I don't remember off the top of my head. No, which mech would you rather use? I'm a charger pilot. I'm a charger pilot, baby. I'm gonna go run something down at full speed and probably strip off a lot of the lasers too, because let's be honest, I need armor. I have no use for small lasers if we're going second, like Succession War era, or like late Succession War. If we're talking some of the new clan stuff, oh, you start throwing mask and supercharger in there, which I guess you could for Succession Wars. That would be mech of choice. But I need to go ahead and get the chat on screen. And the way we're going to do this is I'm going to read some of it. I'm going to read some of chat, and then we're going to go from there. Hello there, fam. Yeah, we're just going to try this the best that we can. I'm going to have the Mech Warrior 2 music going in the background softly. Just let me know if that's okay, and then we're just going to get started. We're just here in the park, and we're going to read a book, and that's going to be that. I do want the rest of this, though. Personally, I prefer the Highlander vest model with the battle axe, the assault battle axe. That thing is cool. That thing is definitely cool. It gives me some Hoots Man vibes for sure. I should explain myself real quick. Glory Hammer is a power band, power metal band, and Hootsman is giant barbarian axe. That's basically all you need to know. Is some good music. I've done a couple of I've played a couple of their songs for the openings before, but yeah. So my introduction to the universe is MechWarrior 2, and I realized the bigger universe was this book. It's a miracle I didn't become a staunch defender of the inner sphere. I prefer the flea with its mask. It's a vibe. I do actually have a flea model here. I'm not, at least I think this one's the flea. I think so. It's not, I'm not sure if it's, this one was set down like near my battle mechs, but I don't know if Worms gave that to me or not. It is sitting there, part of the collection. I do get that, but it's like she didn't say, so I'd rather not assume, you know. It also flies in the face of clanners, and I just love bashing clan cockpits inwards in MechWarrior 5, especially Smoked Jaguar. MechWarrior 3 was my start to the Inner Sphere. The first Battletech book I read was Trial Under Fire. Such a good book. But yeah, that mostly revolved around MechWarrior 3. So this is actually my technically third, because I read a little bit of Far Country. Got up to like, I did not pre-read. This was before we made the deal and all that, so my apologies. But I have read about halfway through the book, and I was just like, what in the world is going on here? I did not realize what was going on in the rest of the Inner Sphere at the time. My first start into the universe was my uncle sent me down with MechWarrior 2 and a joystick, and seeing me have absolutely no idea what I was doing. That's like, yeah, that was MechWarrior 3 was actually my first. I think MechWarrior 3 was my first real foray into computer games specifically. Now, I did play a little bit of Doom back in the day on floppy, not too much. Like, we're talking like I fired up the first level on floppy, and that was that. But MechWarrior 3 was my first venture into the larger Battletech universe. And just computer video games at all. Like my first console game would have actually been Halo Combat Evolved, which is why when I look at Campaign Evolved, I was very upset with that one. But without further ado, this is classic Battletech, The Legend of the Jade Phoenix Trilogy. This one is Wimps copy, so please, everyone, give a big shout out to her, because she was kind enough to lend us this for this stream. So, Trial by Blood. I see you do not like this, cadet. Falconer Joanna said, "Get used to it. It's your training." Without giving any indication that a punch was coming, she jabbed Aiden in the nose. Aiden, excuse me. This is going to be a great story. I'm going to tell you, by the way, oh man, the Doom shareware version, let's get back, throw back to the old days. She hit him again in the same place, and the pain so bad he could not see straight, or rather, he'd see too well. Too many images. Just a blurry mess at that point. Third punch knocked him to the ground. Aiden looked up to see Falconer Joanna standing over him. He tried to sit up, and she gently pushed him down. This time he stayed there. "This one might test out all the way," she said to Falconer Elias, who now stood beside her. As she spoke, she was putting her Falconer gloves on, whose star-shaped studs caught some light and sparkled. She held each glove, palm towards her, directly in front of her face as she put it on. Her face grimaced as she stretched it to the light. He does not, as you saw, gave up easy. Let's keep track of him. Make sure his day is especially hard. And that was just a quick preview, I think. Classic battle tech. Ways of the Clans, Blood Name, and Falcon Guard. So the way I have this set up right now is that it's just multiple parts of the legend of the Jade Phoenix. So I think just for I think for now we'll keep it that way, but I do want to split that up for people who are looking for the books specifically. Even though you're going to have to put up with a lot of me and the style of the way that we do this, so I apologize. But Calm Computer, thank you for the head pats, by the way. Thank you. Way of the Clans. Prologue. To Rosemary and Charlotte, a kind fate. At different moments, say, the night before a battle begins, or the night after a love affair ends, the commander usually seeks a quiet place. Unlike most of the clan warriors, he looks for isolation rather than camaraderie when in the grip of an emotion. This time, he does not choose the cockpit of his mech or a dark place in the forest. This time, he goes into the inlet of a quiet lake with a abbreviated, the way that it's cut off on the page is weird, but I think it's abbreviated, beach whose quiet lapping water is only 3 or 4 steps from the edge of the woods. He sits back against the stump of the tree. Burn marks and missing marks suggest the tree had once, like him, been a battle victim, except he had survived. It's an odd way to put it. I mean, the tree's still alive, I would imagine. I would think so. Ah, yes. Ah, there she is. Falconer Joanna, the clan's angriest falconer, still had a brain in her head. You see, I don't know if I can say that, actually. I'm not going to say that. The only reason is because I have to be careful sometimes what I say, because it might get me in trouble, because obviously I was paramilitary. There's something I wanted to say about the boot camp style. I much appreciate it, but don't really think I can basically I wanted to share some of my experience, but again, I don't think I can say it, and I think that's the best way I can try to explain it. Yeah, I do apologize, but we are moving on swiftly. This is 8 pages into the book. It looks like it. Okay. Me too, former Army. I was navy blue. I was the female department of the Marines. Yes, that was a play on the. It was a joke. If you get it, you get it. If not, I'm sorry. I have not read down to the edge of the page. This is going to be a stream. He watches the moonlight sketching intermittent headlights on only a few ripples in the water, listens to weak breeze, almost shyly sent ripples of sound through the woods behind him. In a book that had been burned in battle, a book the commander had carried through him in the cockpit of a mech whose shards had been scattered across the landscape of some embattled planet he no longer recalled. He had read a story that he wished to memorize. In it, a father had mourned son killed in battle. The battle had been primitive, a war over some nonsense about which side possessed some valuable object. The death, the kind of tragedy that was not quite tragedy. No falls from great heights, no individuals ravaged by a single unidentifiable character flaw. The war had been thousands of accumulations. I thought the music was playing quickly for a second. I do apologize. 1,000 rewardings of honor. Like most wars, the boy had died because someone else had made a mistake. The boy had to save somebody. Friend, a lover, a child, an enemy. There were so many stories, the commander thought. How could puny details be remembered? You might want to remember them because they're kind of important for the story that you're trying to create in your head here. No, we're not referring to the author. It's fine. So you can definitely say it. We've all served under officers and NCOs who didn't have a spark of brain to power an LED. Look. Okay. Look. I wish I had a boot camp. I wish I had a boot camp experience that was closer to something like that than what we got. Because it's like the only time we really did like don't get me wrong, we had a good exercise routine and like we'd be marching all the time, but like when they went to discipline us or like to yell at us or anything like that, they had to be extremely careful. Because obviously there's a lot of there's a lot of red tape when it comes to that, unfortunately. But it's like, and again, I realize how some people feel about this in this community. And again, I'm trying to balance this out, right? But when you become a sailor or when you go into the military, like, the idea is that you are protecting your country, and that's what I still hold to. Like, I might have thrown everything out, but it's like I still agree with the fact that I went to protect my country, and no matter what happens, I still agree with that. I just feel like I really feel like they didn't prepare us that well for what we're supposed to be facing. I don't know if I can, again, it's one of those things where it's like, I don't know if I should say that, but like, I definitely feel like this person's training is a little bit better in that regard. How could so many details be remembered? He had been killed by a projectile from whatever weapon belonged to that era. His father dug him out of a battlefield pile of corpses. The smell of blood not yet become the stench of decay. The father looked at the tortured face of the boy. His eyes still seemed to stare with some life, but now they gazed at some point just past the father's shoulder and not into his eyes. 1,000 memories, 1,000 fragments of the boy's life rushed through the father's mind. The moments from the cradle to childhood frolics through important experiences growing up, through all of the choices that seemingly led directly to this pile of corpses in a straight line of events, some with a strange sort of inevitability to them, a kind of fate. And of course, in the world of the Father and the Son, it was fate that had guided them. Fate was the point. Fate was remaining expression in the boy's eyes, which the father now shut with gentle urges of his fingertips. That was not the end of the story. Events had propelled the father into a deeply complicated plot. In some other ways, he redeemed himself from the taint. In some other ways, he reconciled himself to his son's death. Whether or not the father survived, the commander could not recall. The commander, however, had survived. His special talent, survival. Also, Wolf, thank you for the goat trophy reading. Woo. Play group. This is BattleTech, so it gets really deep into the details. It gets like the amount of detail here in the first couple of pages is just amazing. So we're gonna have a good time with this. His clan upbringing long interfered with his understanding of the story, and for that matter, many other stories from other books. Among the volumes he had so long ago discovered that in Brian Cash, where he had done such dreadful and evading duty. Okay, I believe that's the right pronunciation, but this is actually one of the things I wanted to bring up for these sorts of streams. If I don't know a word, I'm going to look at it for a second, give my best attempt, and then I'm going to go look it up. Because if you want to know how to pronounce a word, there's a good chance that the internet might know. Now, to be fair, some of it nowadays is more AI gen, so you have to be careful about that. But at that point, buy a dictionary. Like, I'm probably going to be getting one soon, but let's see, where was that word? I need to... Dun, 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 dun. Where is it? Innervating. I mispronounced it. And again, this is exactly like, either way, you should be looking it up and looking it up, and then okay. Let me see if he'll read it on stream.
Enervate.
That's a little loud.
Enervate.
And enervate. One more time.
Enervate.
Innervate. Okay. To reduce the mental or moral vigor of.
Enervate.
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 Interesting. I've never heard of that word before. And yep, that's exactly how that goes. There is no shame in doing that, by the way. I'm dyslexic as fuck. I do that all the time just to make sure that I know the word. So anyways, if I didn't spend my jewels, YouTube would keep pestering me about it. Can't think of a better place to spend them. Well, thank you. Innervent. Duty. The concept of the father had initially troubled him. What was a father? Naturally, he understood the technical meaning of the word, but what did it really mean? He's asking what that emotionally feels like, I guess. What had it meant for the devout father of the story, the commander, the offspring of genetic engineering, of genes from a sacred gene pool, which we kind of helped out with for one of the storylines. You had to retrieve some of the genetic material for the clans. And yes, that sounds really, really disgusting, but actually it's more horrifying than anything else, if I'm going to be really honest. Had several father figures, but only knowledge without awareness of his actual father. All he could fall back on was imagination to understand any of these concepts about being natural parents in books he had read. He had been raised with others genetically matched in sibling company, a sibco. He had a fine understanding of what siblings felt, but how could he have comprehended the sorrow of a parent over a lost son or daughter? At least back then, the concept had puzzled him. Now he understood it better. Now it was easier. It was easier to even feel. Now it was his own private sorrow, not only previously unknown, but forbidden to be known. I feel like we need to do a reaction to the second part of the clan primer, because I'm like, there is some culture knowledge I'm missing here. Or not, like, I kind of know how clan society is, but at the same time, it's like, I feel like there'd be some good culture bits here and there. Random memory, I once skipped school to stay home and play Mech Warrior 2 all day. Looking back now, not the best idea. Back then, it was a great day, and I served Clan Wolf to my utmost. That you did. That you did. The idea of fate was easier to comprehend. The clans had a notion of fate, though it differed from the fate portrayed in the story. Clansmen tried to control his fate, measuring it methodically. I, for some reason, was struggling on that. Against the varieties of chance. Everything in life required a bid. If a man was to be good at bidding, he controlled his fate. Bidding is in, like, trial of possession sort of things. Which, by the way, the last time I tried a trial of possession, it did not turn out well for me. I tried a trial of possession for Wimps' charger. Because, why not? Meme. First time she took a banshee, and then she headshotted my cot. Actually, no, she bashed in the cockpit with the banshee's arms, and then Yeah, it was a charge, but like it bashed in the cockpit window. But yeah. And then the next time we take a pair of bushwhackers and she ammo detonated me, which destroyed the engine in quick succession. Remember that bushwhacker you saw up there in my collection? Yeah, that was from the trial of possession. It was a pity price for getting absolutely demolished. You're just a bit short on cultural context, but the Jade thinks Trilogy or the Blood Currency Trilogy both give you a good grasp of it. Hello, Northern Sales. One pom pom. Hello. Chat. Ring on. Successful bid in warfare meant he led his warriors into battle, planned the execution of their maneuvers, planned the battle itself, reacted to chance interferences with the skill of a battle-worthy strategist, beat chance with the action of his adept strategy mind, overwhelmed what fate appeared to have in store. This reads like some sort of male influencer but basically like Taya Lopez like trying to sell a course. You have to have knowledge. You got to play 50 rounds of chess in order to be able to sell an item online. Just yeah, it reads a lot like that, but of course, for the other warrior, the pilot in the cockpit who saw fate rushing right at him, the outcome of the engagement, the loss, the undoubtedly seemed like fate. The difference is that Clancer itself. I mean, to be fair to the clans, they actually believe that and they train very, very much, and their equipment is that good. So I guess to be fair, they do believe what they preach. However, they also a bit arrogant too. I swear that was my entire experience with Smoked Jaguar. Egos the size of oak trees. Clan officers met before a battle and bid for the honor of fighting it. It was an intricate and complex procedure. The first officer to bid removed one or more of his units from the battle strategy. The next bidder had to duplicate that move, then ante by eliminating one unit or more of his own by replacing a strong unit with a ranked one below it. A mech could be substituted for an aerospace fighter or 5 elements. The clanners, genetically bred, battle-suited infantry. Bids flew back and forth until one commanding officer was left with a low bid, and the bid below which no fellow officer could commit personal and material, but a bidder could not hold back a low bid too long. An opponent might beat him to it, making the winning bid he had intended on leaving him back on the dropship, watching his rival lead forces into battle. There was no position so uncomfortable as sitting in a plush dropship chair, observing your military triumphs of the officer who had beaten you to beat you bidding. All the clan men and women took delight in victories of others, but no success was more satisfying than that of a warrior doing the winning. A certain regret inevitably crept into one's praise for others. It's not envy that fueled it, nor the loss of face. Every clansman respected the wagering skills of a good officer, and there was no shame attached to losing a bid. Oh yeah, the smoke clan jaguars were the worst in that aspect. They could back it up for a while. Their time ran out before their egos did. Lucky clanners don't like chess. That's for the science cast. True, but every time I hear anything about Ty Lopez, it's... Well, besides, I think he went to jail at some point. I don't know that, but like for a lot of the stuff he'd been doing, yeah, I think he got pulled into court for some of that stuff. But yeah, every time I hear him talking about that sort of stuff, it was just like, yep, you got to be playing chess. You got to be getting the wrinkles in your mind. It's like, no, how about you teach me how to be a little bit more literate so that way I might be able to read other people's tactics. Just kind of seeing what other people are doing and maybe adapt what I'm doing to make a better business. But no, it's about chess. Ty Lopez has been a curse on YouTube. Here in my garage, just got this Lamborghini. But you know what I like more? Books. But there was another kind floss face, the kind of Commander well understood. It was the loss of face within oneself, the realization that one had not quite made the grade, that it was a true loss of face. When you gazed yourself in the mirror of your mind and then looked away. The commander remembered a warrior who had graduated through all the levels of training spectacularly, had risen through the ranks rapidly, and had become one of the youngest star captains in the history of the clan Jade Falcon. But he had proved too inept in the pre-battle ritual of bidding, too often gave away too much manpower in his desperate attempt to gain the bid. Undermanned, he fought too many losing battles or marginal victories, endangering his troops and material. Though one of the fiercest warriors to ever charge an enemy, the man's bidding deficiencies finally cost him his command, even lost him his mech. When he finally met his death in battle, he was not a victim of fate, but of destiny. The captain's genes were not passed on into the gene pool, so sacred to all warriors. What's the point? But what point was there in a warrior's living and dying if his genes were not judged worthy of the gene pool? This reads like a cult. Contextually here. I love how this is set up, right? Because it paints a very, very good image in your head, and I love that. We are clanners. Wrinkles are for the inferior inner sphere gene pool. Ours is genetically engineered to be smooth, to easily understand the battle. That's because it is. Yes, it is a cult. Excuse me. I'm just looking over to my right, and I'm just gonna be so real with you. I look over to my right, and Where's is just over here? Some sort of Roblox game, and
I'm punching people in prison.
I can't say that right now. I will later, but not right now. The commander knew that when one controlled the key aspects of destiny, fate did not matter. I guess he's trying to say if destiny, like if you can forge your own destiny, that fate doesn't matter. Like destiny is for those who work hard towards it, I guess. And then fate is more just, this is what happened. This is what's going to happen to you. React, fool. Roll initiative. It's Jade Falcon. If you want a rational from the clans, go find Ghost Bear. I mean, yeah, that's true at this point. There was no fear of fate amongst the clans. Sia read in the clan saga, in a passage he could not quite remember accurately. Fate sits high in the bitter's chair, trying to subdue the wolf clan, and failing, trying to outbid the ghost bears, and losing, trying to make the Jade Falcon listen to reason, and listening instead. What was he doing? Thinking about fate at all? He'd always tended to become dangerously reflective before a battle, allowing his mind to wander into his past. Too many books, too many stories with unsettling doubts in them, too much reflection altogether. His life had been difficult. Much of it with failure, shame, loss, hard success. But he had struggled through it all, survived. Some people said they would change nothing if they had lived their lives over. As for the commander, he would not repeat a moment of it. Well, maybe a moment here and there, even if it meant forsaking his present high command in Jade Falcon chain of command. Too many events had warped his thinking. Too much hardship had made him the perpetual outsider of the clan, yet outside of it. I've read too many books, he thought. I'm beginning to think like one, and we cannot have that. Yeah, we can't be gaining ideas from books. Because if we actually read a few books, we might get some dangerous ideas. Isn't that right, government? Still, I would like to go back in time, confront myself at the moment I began training, tell myself the mistakes to avoid. I could bargain for myself a more ordered life, bid for the type of existence I should have had. Ah, the training. See, here's the thing. Here's the thing that people don't think about when they do those sorts of things. And no discredit to them because this is jaded thinking, unfortunately. You go back in time and you try to fix all that, right? Try to put yourself into a better position. That still means that now, because you have that information, the future changes. Just like, oh, that's a good thing. But there is a reason that it happened the way that it did, because if it didn't happen that way, as you've said, fate could just take him out like a few years after training, and that's that. Or, in the more likely scenario, everything remains the same, but yet still you have RNG, essentially, to where each and every single day goes, what sort of random events happened today? Where you're either, it's not fate, it's just randomly, well, shit, your time is up. Sorry about that. You just rolled death. You rolled snake eyes. Fuck you. Off my mortal coil. And, yeah, changing stuff in the past changes a lot of things. And also, I did not mean to leave Discord open. I do apologize. That's on my end. We're going to continue on. The training. They've been young. So young. Mere hellspawn. Says children, but I just... I like saying hellspawn better. He might have been wise beyond his years at the beginning of training, but still only a child when the rough clan instructor officers had taken him, and the other hand, sculptors of people, yes, even more sculptors of the mind. They had remodeled him, part by part, constructing him, and the others, like the vaulting of a great cathedral, making them into buttresses of their units, their star clusters. In the commander's memory, the others were young, too, but at least in his mind now, somehow younger than he. Where were most of them now? Some, of course, were dead. Clan did not recognize the sanctity of life. One of those Terran and inner sphere concepts he had read about. All the clan warriors could be his fodder. And rightfully so, as long as their deaths were forwarded the goals of the clan. War and the clans had made a good combination, especially in their heartlessness towards human life. There was no sanctity to it at all, only survivors. The mech won or the mech fell. That was what happened. But if a messenger were to bring him word now that Martha had been killed, he had to meditate on her passing while still sitting on the lake, stared out at this roughly sketched lake. It would have been sad. Unclan-like, he would have been sad. The commander has survived. That was his final result. The clan was proud of its dead warriors as lived ones. The courage of all justified the clan. He had learned to accept the clan, his Jade Falcon clan. He had even come to love it. It had taken some time, but he had begun the day he and the others stepped off the hover bus onto the cold, even though heavy boots, ground at the training center in the Jade Falcon planet of Ironhold. The clans didn't recognize the sanctity of life. That was one of those Terran or inner sphere ideas. Yes. Yes, that is point for point. Meanwhile, in the inner sphere, you know, 4 succession wars later, the introduction of Case 2 from Earthworks. And, you know, some meddling with Comstar for the Battle of Turkine. Still raging on. Yeah, that was the prologue. We are at chapter 1. So anyway, I strapped an Aeroforce system to this Irby, but all I got is these Davy Crockett munitions, so Wolf, fire a warning shot. Ma'am, these are Navy Crockett munitions. Potato, potato. Just fire the shot. Across the great expanse of the grassless rocky plain, other vehicles were also arriving, each jumping new trainees from uncharacteristically anxious Sipcos. On the landing site, where in threatening packs the training officers awaited their charges, their next set of victims. That's a hell of a way to describe it. These strange-looking men and women hardly seemed to notice the newcomers. Instead, they talked amongst themselves, their barked-out words frequently interrupted by their rackrous. Okay, we're looking up another word because I have not heard this one either. And don't worry, I'll have the wink wink human, totally human voice that the dictionary here has. I hope it's human, but at this point we don't know.
Raucous.
Raucous. One more time for the folks at home.
Raucous.
Raucous. Okay. Their words frequently interrupt by their raucous laughter. Very well. Okay. And again, no shame in looking up words because sometimes you just don't know what a word means and you need to look it up, and that's 100% fine. They often pushed against or elbowed each other in ways that looked to Aiden like neither friendly or even human. These are hellhounds. These are the devil dogs. These are Marines in equivalent to Terran terms. These are Marines, and these are the old type of Marines. They will mess you up. And yes, I have bread with me, chat. I have bread. And okay. I went to pick up the loaf of bread, and Rams is like, okay, what sort of, do you want any spreads or anything for it? And I'm like, I just want bread. I'm like a duck. I will just pick off pieces of bread and just munch on it. It's not good for them.
You're like the damn dwarf from Delicious in Dungeon. Bread.
Yes, bread. So I just passed out and got up. Annika's a duck confirmed. Quack. Quack. Now I'm gonna have to have a duck set on hand. Oh god, I'm basically gonna be mini duck at this point. Anyways, they were more like hawks crowded into a cage together, ready to start a bloody battle if it nudged out of place by another. In spite of the cold, the blasts of wind that had reached even into the hover bus did chill its passengers. These are warriors. These combat survivors were scantily dressed, unlike Aiden and his Sipco, who had snuggled into their tunics of thick animal hide. Broad-brimmed fur hats and a light but well-insulated leather boots. This is sounding more like... When was this book trademarked? Because I'm really interested to see, like... Because the way these descriptions are... Oh my god, there's a index in the back and it has... And it has various various bits of information about the mechs, like technical readouts. That is so cool. Didn't find what I was looking for, but yeah. This definitely reads like it's like the descriptions feel like they're 1991. Let's go. I said across her nose, not up. Oh yeah, that I do appreciate the fact that they put all that in the background or in the index for this book. Each training officer wore what had apparently once been a fatigue jumpsuit, but with the ragged holes in the sleeves and the torso, with the legs cut off unevenly, exposing lower limbs that were bare down to the low slung boots. Sleeves were shortened too, just below the elbow. Over the cutaway jumpsuits were some fur tunics, the only apparent concession to the intense cold. You see, these people are insulators. They are space heaters. I'm not just like, oh, they're like, no, some people are just warm. I am one of them. I am naturally warm. I'm just like, I'm good. The cold does not really affect me that much. Now, keep in mind, I'm not necessarily going to be going out in my shorts, but I mean, for most cold temperature, yeah, I'll be fine. Welcome, fans and competitors, to the chat arena, and there will be much and the much anticipated Grand Prix of pushing the like button and subscribing. Many will compete, but there can only be one winner. Good luck to you all. The cold doesn't bother you always? Not really, no. Like, I used to live up in the mountains, so I think the only day that I was actually concerned about the cold was that Arctic blast we had that came through. Like, this is like early, I want to say 2020, 2021, something like that. Yeah, an Arctic blast got into the jet stream and was pushed along the Canadian, American, South American, like, basically that just swept through. Okay, thank you. Thank you, camera. It swept through the area, and Texas got a lot of freezing temperatures for a while. That was fun. They had a lot of Article 13s get written up too. Sounds like a trial position to me. Let's go. On the chests and sleeves of the jumpsuit were many patches, some indicating rank, some just indicating past units in which the warriors had served, some indicating battle achievements. Those are normally, yeah, those would be normally on the chest. Like, you can have like a rack of, you can either have like a rack of 3 indicating what your like most outstanding achievements are, and then you can have like the expanded rack for like every single one of your medals. This is like for your dress whites or something. The dress whites, they were fine. It's just the summer ones were a little disappointing. I never got to wear them, but they just look kind of disappointing. It's like that's it. Like because like the normal whites look good. The blues also look good. I thought the blues looked a little better, if I'm being honest, but I like darker colors. So I hate dress whites. Impossible to keep clean. Love the blues. Yeah, those dress whites, just, if you got anything on them, good luck. Good luck. I got out of the army before they fully transitioned to the dress blue uniforms nobody liked. I think, yeah, those are the army ones, and I don't know about that uniform. Would not have been for me. Few of the officers wore thick gloves with the well-padded kind used in falconry. You'd think I'd know how to read, but no. I'm just leaving out words all over the place, which is interesting because that is my normal. It's usually what happens when I can't. Basically, it's just like that word does not exist when I go to read it. And it'll be like a very crucial support word. So that's what's usually like happens to me when I go to read. It's like I know enough of the words to be able to read on this level. It's just sometimes the supporting word just goes, goodbye, have a good time. It made Aiden recall the first day he had launched his favorite bird, Peregrine? Peregrine? He had named Warhawk. Standing on the crest of a ceremony, he had been sending her out to hack to free and obtain a sense of liberty that is so essential to a bird. Spend most of its life tied to blocks or carried on the wrist of a padded glove. Hacking was a practice all of those Jade Falcon and the Jade Falcon clan had chosen to honor their name by cultivating the ancient art of falconry. Words don't exist. They can't hurt you. They do exist, and they are plaguing my existence. Aiden spent the rest of that morning hoping that Warhawk would return. Of course, she had, proving to be one of the coolest, most successful hunting falcons in Adrian Sipko. But that was long ago. Today, stepping onto the ground of the training site, tension overwhelmed him. On the side of the Sipko, there was the closest trust, the answering of needs. On the other side of the training officers, there was indifference, danger, and contempt. However, there was also, in the occasional side, long glance, and in a certainty of bodily swiftness, sense of an enemy ready to spring. Adrian looked over at Martha, found her staring at him. Though her eyes were calm, he knew her well enough to perceive the uneasiness set her full-lipped mouth, shaped so much like his that she is just as apprehensive. SIPCOs rarely met their genetic donors. At the time of the first Ilkin, Nicholas Karinsky was instructing that instituting the first genetic programs. Theorists warned him that contact between donors and their SIPCO children could be dangerous influences. They were especially wary of what they called unhealthy parental inclinations. Meaning they didn't want parent instincts to mess with the mission or anything that they were doing. That's messed up, Peregrine. I see. Thank you. Such feelings, they advised, had to be eliminated so that the genetically created warriors would not suffer the personality complications and character flaws that could so easily lead to the mistakes that lost battles and failed whole campaigns. By law, the donors must be the best warriors society could offer. The best warriors should, they reason, not even want to see their offspring. That's wow. They're like, yep, we had offspring, but you know what? We put them up for adoption because we're ready to go fight again. How messed up is that? Note, the clans don't adhere to our modern ideas of genetic diversity and social restrictions on such, so things can get a real weird around the SIPCO for us inner sphere types. I understand what you're saying, and we can't say that, otherwise the platforms get angry. Would not even want to see their sib spring, a linguistic corruption of sibling offspring. I beg your pardon. Though everyone in the SIPCO had the same genetic background and resembled one another, AJ and Martha looked more alike than either of them resembled any of their SIPkin. They were the only ones who had the high forehead tapering down to a narrow chin, a shape akin to a perfect triangle. It was said the look came from their maternal side and was the famous appearance of Star Commander Tanya Pride. Many of whose combat and sporting exploits were excitedly recorded in the clan Jade annals. She was still among the blood named, but like all the warriors who reached the age where it's customly dictated they retire from combat, she was fulfilling a non-combatant assignment somewhere else or retired to another caste. Adrian and Martha are essentially brother and sister, being engineered from the same stock. Yes, yeah. Yep, things are about to get real weird. Jade Falcon, in particular, being good bondsman. Yes, Wampon, yes, someone writing this had interesting tastes, it seems. Yes, yes, they did. Less known about Galaxy Commander Ray. I'm going to say Raymond, because I don't know how their name is supposed to be pronounced. So if that's wrong, do apologize. Mathel, the partner contributor of the genes for Aiden's SIPCO, rumor has it that his exploits were as impressive as Commander Pride's, but the accounts had somehow not made their way into clan or SIPCO lore. Adrian had been told that they resembled Mathel in their height and slimness. They were the tallest members of their SIPCO, Martha topping Adrian only a few centimeters. However, the characteristic that really set the pair was their eyes, blue as the summer sky on the planet Siri, and just as deceptive as the Siri storm. I'm pronouncing it that way. Again, that is a planet name. I don't know if they have a specific way they'd want that said, but sure. Could be seen to descend on the planet from nowhere, a swirling tempest preceded only by the slightest change in the serene skies. The calmness in the eyes of Adrian and Martha when confronted by their opponents was the lull that preceded their storms. That serene moment before they sprang into action often gave them the edge against most of their adversaries of equal skills. Adrian shivered. Even in the thick garments he wore, the harsh wind blowing across the plain made him feel exposed. Structure exposed. The other members of his SIPCO appeared to be shivering too. They had been instructed that the only clothing that they could bring to boot camp was what they wore to the landing site. Some of Adrian's SIPkin had also put on a couple of extra layers. Now he was wishing he had two. The cold air that discovered any ingress into the clothing, any place that material did not quite meet the skin, then rushed in thoroughly to chill every I'm going to say epidermal surface. Yeah. The level of detail just to describe the amount of wind on somebody's skin is immaculate. Well done. Well, let's not forget that the trilogy introduced the clans. It was stated flat out that Sibkim from a hormonal age reached a certain hormonal age, and then with another by design. At least it's not as bad as what happens with the average Crusade Kings playthrough. You're not wrong, but yeah. I do not trust any of these non-kin, said Brat, the smallest of the group. Non-skin was a term differentiated from their SIPCO and from the other SIPCOs for that matter. Any assembly of people outside the SIPCO. These unkempt, ill-dressed, indifferent officers, for example, Brett Smallness has seemed to guarantee his early elimination from the SIPCO, but nobody counted on his tenacity, courage, and then the discipline he had made him exercise for hours every morning. Now he had a strong muscular body, and the others relied on him for leadership as much as fiercely independent Sibkin could accept any leader. They have something planned for us. What, Brett? Martha said. I don't know. But I do not know. And I want to say that I can't say don't because that's a contraction, which would be wrong for clan society. So I'm gonna correct myself on that one. But based on how vicious and unfeeling those will train us are said to be, I suspect their casual indifference right now is a fraud to hide something devious instead. Yeah, you're starting basic training. Yeah, that'll happen. They get you, they lull you into a false sense of security, and then the first thing they do is start screaming at you and tell you to get moving. Because you're going to learn today. You're going to learn quite quick what you're doing there. I doubt they will make us stand here for long, Aiden commented. It would not be clan-like. Clan-like? Are you being sarcastic? Brett asked. He was, but Aiden did not want Brett to know that. Brett, who had no concept of the humorous, often commented that Adrian treated life too lightly. I'm going to be real. I kind of agree more with Adrian on this one because it's like, if you take life too seriously, you're just going to end up making it a lot worse for yourself. You're going to be there constantly in your head, and it's not a good place to be. Screaming is going to be the least of these kids' worries. That is a wild thing to say, my fake internet name. What I'm getting from this offer is into detailed physical descriptions, muscles in Sweet Home, Alabama. That is a wild thing to say, internet, and I guess now I've said it, so that's fun. That's great. Definitely not gonna be a bad day for me. You would have hated reading the introduction to Decision at Thunder Rift. He describes planetary mechanics and everything. That much detail? I'm actually okay with that. I should have started with that. Why did I start with this one? I went straight for the deep end. Is it too late to change? An hour into the stream. Anyway. The smaller boy had been so intent on his own survival in the Sibco, his own proof of kinship with the others, that he never understood a joke. Around a campfire, on hunting expeditions, his laughter always rang false, the laughter of a serious person trying to blend in with the others by following their ways. The only jokes he ever told were the ones he had heard from others. His nervous manner and the catches in his voice when he delivered punchlines made his listeners doubt his understanding of the joke's humor. The Sibco needed Brett's shrewdness and quick decisions at those times that when the entire group was being tested, so they excused his lack of humor. Neg, Adrian responded, I'm being factual. We are not often allowed relaxation, Quiaf. Af. You know what I think? I think they are testing us right now. See those sidelong glances? they're assuring us, I'm sure, and at the same time agitating us. Koyaf, Martha said. We should try to look calm, Ren said. Show that we were ready for them, ready to be warriors. Ren was unusual among Adrian's shipmates. Bit overweight, like the rest of the survivors of the arduous customs, testings, and retestings of the clan upbringing. She was in good physical condition. Ren liked to use her unimposing appearance to catch people off guard. She could flip an attacker over her well-muscled back, then wrestle him to the ground faster than anyone in the Sibco. Wrestling was often a prelude to coupling, which she carried out with similar athleticism. Adrian often let himself be tossed over in a prospect of having painful blows evolve into enormous crevices. I believe Ren is right, said Brett. Best to ignore them. How about a team tussling session? Y'all up for it? There was immediate agreement among the Civco's dozen members. Automatically splitting off into their usual 3 teams, they squared off. Fighting in front of the instructors. That's brave. Although I guess it's more traditional for them, so maybe, but... Oh, yes. That much detail. Clanners got to show the world what their mama and then the test tubes I gave them. No. Put it on the list. If Worms doesn't have it, I can send you all the books. I do have the majority of the EPUB. That would be nice. I think I bought it as an ebook, but like I said, I like the physical book that I have here. Because otherwise I'm just looking up at a screen and it's like, I don't know, maybe it would be better. I don't know. But having a physical book helps too. Team tussling was both an exercise and a game that Adrian had once noticed harmlessly ritualized the type of grand melee that occurred during a trial of possession in a mech or outside of it. Because, again, we saw that one cutscene for Mech Warrior 5 Clans, and I was like, I was expecting a big mech battle for their trial of possession. They had the 2 girls fight in the mech bay, which... Come on. It's a Mech Warrior game. You gotta do the big fight outside the ship. Why? Because it's cool. I don't know. I thought it. Otherwise, I'm just looking at a screen. She says over here an hour into her stream. Hour and a half. We've been here for an hour and a half, and we've gotten to the prologue and like half a chapter. Team tussling had developed naturally out of Sipco's intense gymnastic competitions. Once any such activity started, all members of the Sipco wanted to be the best at it. In a tussle, they used acrobatic talents along with combat skills they've been learning, seemed since they were kicking their way out of their cradles. The ritual began ceremoniously. 2 members of each team formed a chair with their hands. I'm sorry, a chair? While another stood on it or sat in it. What? Adrian was certain this was the beginning of, or certain this beginning had originated from falconry. In a team tussle, the competitors were launched just like birds. Brett stood on the surface offered by his teams in a quartet of thinly gloved hands. Then his holders hurled him forward. He executed a single flip in the air, landing in front of Ren, who was thrown forward in a sitting position, rolled somersault, and then landed at Brett's feet just as he came down. This opening was well ritualized by now. Ren grabbed at Brett's ankles. Brett anticipated the move and then jumped aside, landing in his path of the first out acrobatic. That's what it says. From the third group, a stocky, quarrelsome young man named Endo. He had entered the fray by leaping from his holder's chair onto his hands, walking a few steps, flipping onto his feet just in time to give Brett a hard chop to the side of his head with his hands that Endo had hardened from practicing on any material he could find. His hand is a melee weapon. They link arms and then boost each other into the ring. Alrighty then. I love how this acrobatic circus is going on, and the instructors are still sitting over here going, what the hell are these idiots doing? Because again, they're not in their normal gear. They're doing what they need to do in order to train these recruits right. Which again, I guess is supposed to be a good thing in this case. Let's see here. Each member of this SIPCO had a fighting specialty. Chomping with his hard-heeled, calloused hands was Endo's. Brett's reeled sideways and encountered Ren diving her shoulders in his midsection. Adrian watched the other members of his team as they all nervous and eager for the moment while they had simply all at one time. The team tussling had been simply a boisterous free-for-all. Refinements had gradually been introduced until the game evolved into its present form, wherein intimidation of the clan's military bidding procedures. Each team sent out as a minimum effective force one fighter to do the battle precisely 2 minutes before the others could join. That single fighter was rendered ineffective by an opponent. A difficult task when there was 3 teams or more involved. It was sometimes happened. Was knocked out cold. That team was defeated and the other members are not allowed into the mock but hard-fought combat. This was the overwhelming fear of the tussler that he or she could work all the restlessness and energy necessary for a good scuffle and then be quickly deprived of the chance to let it out. Adrian, not the best gymnast of his team, was unable to offer stylish opening gambit for beginning of his tussle, and so rarely went out first. He hated moments of being denied battle. Martha, beside him, was equally restive. She She liked a good fight as much as Adrian and never shied away for it. This is the part of the stream where it gets demonetized, but you know what? We're going for it. In their sexual encounters, she had... Okay, no. No, we're gonna try and cut a lot of that, unfortunately. Again, it's just so YouTube and Twitch doesn't just absolutely blast me for that, but... Which was why she was, among all the members of the SIPCO, his favorite partner for coupling. I see what you did there, author. I see what you did. I see what you did. Unfortunately, the others felt the same. And getting her was often more arduous than a team tussle. A SIPCO survived. They have been told often enough on its ability to function effectively as a unit, on the intensity of the internal competitions. SIPCO member was always battling on the outside and the inside. He looked over at Martha. On the back of her left hand, was against her hip, and she was rubbing it nervously up and down the rough material of her short trousers. Skin visible between her trousers and her boots was prickly with goosebumps. In their family-friendly athletic interactions. Yes, family-friendly athletic interactions. Yes. I like that. I like the way you phrase that. Hand-holding is not clan-like. Yeah, you say that, but yeah, they be doing that stuff anyways. It's the military. Like, they are 100% going to be doing that. And it's a good time. He glanced down at his arm, which was also showing effects of the cold. A few more seconds, and Afrina said true, he could get warm by mixing up in the center. Rena almost got caught out by Indo, who by throwing himself onto his back and kicking his legs high, knocked her off balance. Indo then rolled onto his back, the back of her legs, and then flipped her over his hunched back. She landed uncomfortably, her head pressing against a large rock, her eyes less than clear but not dazed. Her right arm under her body, her left flailing ineffective. Indo, who moved quickly in spite of his stockiness, jumped on her back, nearly pinned her, but her head was snapped back by Brett, who, by the rules of the game, could not stand by and let another one individual defeat another. In a team tussle, a physical exercise is as much as competition. It's forbidden to win by allowing your opponents to defeat each other. Inactivity was inglorious. The whistle signal came from the Time Master, in this case, Dav from Inda's team. Screaming like hawks, the others ran, leaped, twisted, and elbowed their way into a melee. Adrian rushed right at Tim, who, clever but static, Stood. I do not know that word. Okay, fair enough. This is... I'm starting to wonder if this book was a lot higher of a reading level than even I had. Which is completely okay. We're just going to keep going, and that's going to be that. I'm going to keep looking upwards, and we're just going to continue right along. Apparently, I need this too. All right. Give me a pronunciation on that.
Stolid.
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 Stolid. Stolid. A clever but stolid. Stolid infighter. Yeah, there is... Yeah, no, I've never heard of that word before. I also wonder if some of these words just haven't been used commonly, and like... I also wonder if some of these words just haven't been used in like 5-10 years or something. Give me 1 second. Or if I'm just like, I'm completely off my rocker on that one. Because I feel like I haven't seen that word. All right. Tell you what, I'm going to take a 10 or 15 minute break, and then we'll just be right back. Okay. Alrighty. Oh, and by the way, the Mech Warrior 2 soundtrack finally finished up, so I switched over to Mech Warrior for Mercenaries. It really does have a good soundtrack. Again, let me know if that's too loud or just, let me know if the volume's okay. Where did we even leave off on? Think we were, let's see, I think we were right about here. Who can often be dazzled by a diversionary tactics at almost the last second before Adrian would have rammed into Tim. Spelled Tymm, and receive a very skillful defense blow. In response, he veered away as if his choice for combat were with somebody else. He ran about 3 steps, stopped, and without looking at Tim, launched himself sideways while bringing up his elbow, making contact with the side of his opponent's jaw, sending him off balance. A quick roll to the back of Tim's knee, and he fell to the ground, where Adrian quickly placed his right hand firmly but safely onto Tim's neck to hold him down. This act, held for 5 seconds, signified Tim's defeat. Aiden had no time to watch Tim get up and slink away, for he had to cope with Ornelia. I'm gonna say that's Ornelia. The skinny but lithe. Okay. It's like being part of a spelling bee and pronouncing spelling words rarely used back in its day. Okay, so it's not just me, like, this is... this feels like these words are from... they're from a different era. But I think that says lithe. I'm going to be horribly wrong on... I'm going to be horribly wrong on the pronunciation, but...
Live.
Live. Live. Let...
Life. Live.
And I want to say for the record, that is not life. That is live. It's not just me. These are words that most people don't use. Top lookups. Yeah, nothing I'm seeing here, by the way, which is probably, actually, no, that would be what people are looking up the most. Somebody looked up miss, as in, excuse me, miss. Somebody looked up malarkey, managership. Yeah, you're not going to have managership. I'm afraid the AIs beat you to that. Or at least the ones that are currently here. All the other ones are not going to be around because everyone's running out of money for AI, which is good. I hate the word live. It's lithe. Martial artist specialist. She was just a bit off with a chop to the back of his neck, and he merely stumbled a few steps, recovering just in time to block her elbow strike, then to deal with her just barely slowed down punch to the stomach. She took the blow well, not even doubling up, but her next attempt, a weak heel palm strike, was obviously affected by his attack. Bending low, Adrian tackled her to the ground. The waist wrestled her to the ground and his arm grabbing her through her right leg. I swear I did not read this part correctly. One more time. Adrian tackled her about the wrist and wrestled her to the ground, his arm gripping her through her right leg, the back of his forearm against her chest. He was just about to do a 5-second mock stranglehold on Nelia when a booming voice drowned out the sounds of the scuffle. "Stop this idiocy." The voice had so much sound of command, the sharp contest of the authority, the drawn-out vowels of the wrath that froze Adrian in place, his hand reaching for Nilia's neck, and his other hand still entangled in her legs. Nilia, too, like all the Skipco battlers, stopped fighting and tensely held still. Adrian looked up to see a trio of training officers, 2 of them with arms akimbo. That's exactly what that says, with arms akimbo. As in, like, 2 weapons, I guess? I don't know. A third gesturing wildly as he spoke. Is this harebrained Sipco the flustering nest of... Is this harebrained Sipco this fluttering nest of IASs that I'm going to look that up, but I think that's some sort of insult that I can't imagine. Like, I think that's something in universe, not necessarily. No, is that a... That's a bird. That is a bird. Ias. Ias is... So yes, I was correct, but also... That is a hell of a name for a bird. Yeah, sorry, the plural of your name, this is God speaking to this poor bird. Yep, the plural, so you're called Ias. Yes, basically like an I. And the plural of your name literally says ass. This bird, this poor bird, is going to get bullied until the end of time. Arms akimbo. Their arms are down at their side. You're right. I see. I've never heard that term before. Am I that tough? Brace yourself for the foulest language you've ever heard. Oh, my fake internet name. I was a sailor. I've heard some really foul things. And sometimes I hop on Discord and I hear other things that I wish I didn't. There are some channels that are just not meant to be heard.
I mean, there's also cursed information.
Who did you think I was referring to? Who do you think I was referring to? That surfer's a mess. Ias was their word for a hawk just taken for its nest before it could fly. Okay, it gave context. Okay. It's so good that we looked it up, though. My fake internet name, I think you mean the foulest. You are still children, Queoff? No doubt you spit up your cereal and go behind some rocks where no one can see. What? Yep, this is a drill instructor, all right. Has there been a mistake, Conrads? Have they sent us this Sib nursery of the Sibco on the verge of becoming warriors? Oh, yep, that's a drill instructor, all right. The officer to the speaker's left laughed. We just looked up this word. Rock. Okay, here's the problem. I might have looked it up, but that doesn't mean that I'll be able to pronounce it perfectly. One more time.
Raucous.
Raucous. Raucously. Raucously. There we go. Again, who has used that word in like 10 years? Like, I'm not saying that we shouldn't use it. I think that it's a good I think it's a good adjective. I'm just like, I'm legitimately just going, who's used that word in a long time? Anyways, raucous, laughed raucously, a sound at Nagu, just to a roar that's sudden, of a sudden sick-turn wind. When she spoke, it was in that of a voice, if anything, was louder than her colleagues. Free birth. If these whelps are out of our training unit, I think I will make myself a bondsman to the labor's caste, because what use will there be going to war? With novices such as these, we might as well bid for surrender as combat. Morale. Morale for these poor people, for the Sibco here, is at rock bottom. This was well written. The third officer started to pace amongst the Sibco. Adrian saw that his fellow Sibkin were like statues, each commemorating some fighting pose or others, fists rearched back, struggle checked in sometimes. Sir Table Ox legs locked in what seemed like physically impossible knots. He relaxed his grip on Arnell and set back on his haunches. Arnell did the same. Some others shifted position. The third officer, a man whose complexion was bad, so bad that he seemed genetically anomalous for the warrior caste, made odd sounds and disgust in his throat. You call this fighting? He finally said in a gravelly voice. This is horseplay. It is soft, too soft. You call your Karis punches. Go home and spend your days among the fields of flowers. Coupling and quoting the selections of the remembrance. Create a I don't know why I picked this book for YouTube, because there's going to be so much I have to cut to make this work. Werves, I hate you. verbosity in which I utilize the exuberance and eloquence development vernacular purely as a means of spiting those in whom lexicon has seen lesser developmental opportunities. I hate you. I still got it. But goddamn, girl, why? Why would you do that? In 1,000 years in the future, drill instructors are eloquent as ever. Gotta love it. Oh yeah, this is some 2000s drill instructors. Adrian nearly vomited. So insulting and obscene was the third officer's last remark. Yep, there's some foul language. All that. Careful lest you end up on the couch. There is... I want a couch, but that's gonna be for later. That's going to be for later. Although I would want one of those modular couches. I'd be the one paying for it, but like those things are so cool. It's like I don't really want one of those short couches. I want the ones that like extend to the length of a bed. Not a futon, but like one of the modular ones. Damn your couch. What couch? Tertish. Nova, if anything, she's sleeping in her office chair. Look, sometimes I've done that because I'm not feeling good and there's only one way. Like, I have to, like, physically sit up in order for it to not hurt, so. Amongst warriors, any reference to freeborns or freeburn was the deepest curse, the most profound of insults. To be born from a womb of was disgraceful. I love how the setting is built. But goddamn, that is... Male warriors could sire children with a woman from another caste. The child would then be freeborn, a word synonymous with lowborn in clan society. Worms, it seems you have some verbose vernacular. Why do you do this to me? Why do you do this to me, chat? Indubitably, I strive to utilize and enhance vernacular, to be pedantic over petty semantics.
Yes, quite.
Why do you do this? All of you. Why? No. Quite. Warrior fathers never spoke to their freeborn children. That's rough. There was no meaningness in it. They were merely indifferent to their best. Okay. You, the third officer said, pointing towards Indigo. What is that on your lip? Do you grow vegetables in there, perhaps? What the hell? Endo instinctively felt for the spare groups of hairs that he called his mustache. He was so proud of it. That is cruel. I love how they're going immediately for the pride points. For a moment, Endo looked as if he were experiencing the sensation seed. Oh, wait, I missed a little bit. Second officer now strode among them. Facial hair is forbidden for cadets, she said. You will shave that off tomorrow at dawn, or we will pluck it off hair by hair. For a moment, Endo looked like he was experiencing the sensations she had described. Aaron ran his hand alongside the underside of his smooth chin, fearful that he might have grown a beard there and forgot about it. Stand up, the first officer shouted. All of you. All the members of the Sibco were on their feet in an instant, standing stiffly at attention. I am Falconer Commander Roshak, but until you are yourselves warriors, you are forbidden to refer to me by name or rank. You may not, in fact, address me directly or refer to me when talking to anybody else.
Have fun trying to pronounce what a fake internet name just posted. I'm not helping you with those ones.
What did you... She even made it rhyme at the end. Delightful. Hello, Annika. Hello there, Nova Cat. How are we going? How are we doing today? How's the green bird reading going? Well, it's clans, and I... starting to think should have went with Far Country. But you know what? That's fine. The same holds true for your other officers. So, okay. How the hell am I supposed to ask a question? You don't? Perfect. Annika regrets not reading Far Country. What a world. Far Country would have been easier, but it means reading about an LAM, so... Hey, Wolf, I want you to go look at the picture in the schedule picture. I want you to report back with what you find there. Falconer Joanna, the woman nodded. And Falconer Ellis, a grunt from the other male officer. Falconer Joanna explains this has semantic code. I don't think that's how it's supposed to be pronounced, but still. Tara Roshak was a tall man who held his left arm strangely, slightly curved, but not in an anatomical way. Shall we test them, Falconer Commander? I don't think that was the right page. That was not the right page. It seemed to cling side of his body, attached by an invisible wire. It barely moved as he spoke. Falconer Joanna? Bellowing instructions, wove her hand amongst the trainees. You must give full attention to us when we address you, but you must not respond to us. What is... let's see here. The first one sounds like an internal darkness, vampire species. No, it's a matter... I think it's a matter of space. Yeah. Oh, I saw it. Joanna's my toxic fave. What did they post, though? Where is it? What did you post there? Fake internet name, because I don't see it. Yeah, like I don't see. It's on live chat, so I should be able to see it. Yeah, if you would post that again, I'd just like to see.
Actually, yeah, that's a good point. Where the hell did it go?
Yeah, it just kind of disappeared. Like YouTube just automatically just went.
I think YouTube might have filtered it.
I think YouTube yeeted that shit.
That's hilarious. It got filtered for spam.
Yep, it got fucking yeeted.
Oh, wait, nope, I found it.
Let me see it. Let me see it, please.
I'm gonna highlight it.
We may just, we just enjoyed deploying. No!
We just enjoy deploying our Sesquipedian loquaciousness as to confound the Brognagian applidates. That's like some Victorian era. Actually, I think most of those words actually would predate William Shakespeare. Because that is, yeah.
Sesquipedalian loquaciousness and Brognagian applitus. Why? Why would you do this to me?
It's definitely more Germanic root than Greco-Roman, so that's why it's such a big difference.
Worth noting, they misspelled Gladius.
And you got corrected.
If words must be delivered, you must couch them in indirection. You do not understand what I mean. I will demonstrate. Suddenly, she stood in front of Aiden. She was a head shorter than he, but the difference in height diminished in no way the intensity of her gaze. Her eyes were blank. Hands in front of her face tapped them against her chin. They were falcon's gloves, thick, decorated, with a sharp-pointed metal stars. The stars no doubt denote some kind of military information, something about military division called a star in clan fighting units, unless they merely represented the vanity of the falconer Joanne in some way. Joanna, you're a tall one, Cadet Quiaf. F. What do you mean? As you said, Falconer Joanne, I am tall. She slapped his face hard, using the back of her right glove effectively. Felt the points as some of the stars dig into his skin. Her eyes stared into his, probing for a reaction. Except for the first startled moment, his eyes held on to their characteristic coolness. Long ago, he vowed never to let his guard down for anyone, in or out of the Sipco. Falconer Joanne glared into his eyes without blinking. Now it was a battle of self-control. Her mouth hardly moved as she spoke to him. You spoke to me. You addressed me by name. You must respond to our direct questions, but never talk to me. You must talk to me as if you must talk as if to the air. Do you understand? Yes. This cadet must talk to the air, and as he's doing now. This is ridiculous. No wonder the clans are delusional. They're having their cadets talking to the air. I gluf pas montan. Old English for love this chat. I don't think I pronounced that any sort of correct, but I gave it a... I guess I was going for something like German. Old how the Normans invaded England. I don't know. That word sounds like an exercise the Roman army did to keep in shape. Adaplatz. Yes. The Marines do similar. It's never I, it's this recruit. Remember, Normans are the true English. I don't know about that. I'm just saying what the chat's saying over here. You learn quickly, IS. We weave among your cadet. We weave among you cadets like harsh, relentless winds at the iron hold, she said softly. You follow our orders. Immediately do whatever we command. What is your name, IS? Aiden. Aiden, put your arms around me, Aiden, around my shoulders. He was about to protest, but he realized that meant addressing Falconer Joanne directly, offering an independent comment, so he did what she said. Good. A bit slow, but obedient. I might have to skip that part. Norman's 1,600 roughly. For what? I'm confused.
The year that variant of English was been, that internet name was using.
Oh, I got you.
That's probably closer to 1500s.
I get you. You have a falconer's eyes, cadet, she said quietly. I will be watching you. Aiden cursed inwardly. His first minutes in training, and he had caught the attention of the officer with a fierce temper and a strong punch. Yes, you can imagine what I didn't read there, so... And again, this gives you more of an opportunity to go read the book for yourself, because I might have to censor it a little bit here and there, but that's... Normandy is rightfully part of England, and thus France should be also part of England. This conquest should be a quick venture, should not totally result in a war lasting 100 years. I have a certain desert that would probably say that's about correct. This book was intended for teenagers when it was written. Very, very horny teenagers. Love, guts, and war. You gotta love it. Nearby, Falconer Ellis was dressing down Tim and gifting him a series of punches on the arms and chest. Tim looked like he was about to cave in. Then the Falcon commander, terror shock, strode into the middle of the group, bellowing, "Can we send these little birds back to their nests? My time here on Ironhold must have some meaning. I will not waste it on a doom project." up close, as close as Aiden was willing to look out from the corner of his eye. Terrashak was odd-looking individual. His face seemed to be made of jagged rock with many signs of erosion. His eyes were hard to see beneath the overhang cliff of his brow. His mouth was a forbidding mountainside cave. Emphasizing the analogy was a stone of the man's hairless, just a few blades of hair growing around his shapeless ears, none visible on his arms or legs, as if the ban on hair included limbs as well as the face. The Falconer commander probably seen more life than Aiden ever wanted to, probably most of it in the cockpit of a battle mech. I made 100-year war joke. Oh, I know. Oh, I know. But I'm trying to tell you it's somewhat accurate. Shall we test them, Falconer Commander? Asked Falconer Ellis. His terrible voice, eager for something. Aiden could not tell what, but he immediately dreaded it. The man's pocket-marked skin, its apparent malleability as a strong contrast to Raksha's hardness. Reddened with anger, or maybe it was merely the assault of the wind, seemed to get more turbulent by the minute. Test them? Of course we'll test them. I would do it myself, but I can see it in your eyes, Falconers, that you would prefer to bid for the privilege. As Raksha strode towards his subordinates, Aiden realized why the man's arm had appeared odd. It was not a real arm, but a prosthetic creation. He must have lost his arm in the battle. It's not a bidding situation, Commander, Falconer Joanne said. 12 to 1 is too great of odds for warriors Self and Falconer Ellis. However, I would be willing to divide them up 7 to 5. 7 to 5 for me, 5 for Ellis. Ellis grunted. Aiden could hear the insult of the grunt, but was not sure how to interpret it further. 7, Falconer Joanne. You are tired today, I suppose. I will take on 8 of these paper-thin warriors, leaving 4 for you to toy with. 8 might be a strain for you, but I will offer 9. What say, Falconer Ellis? Ellis smiled and looked smug. 9? Bargained and well done. But I should add that I think Falconer Joanne typically overstretched her ambitions. Oh, and by the way, MechWarrior 5 OST is playing now. So 9 it is, Joanne. I will flicker off the other 3 like flies. Gazing at the amused expression of the new trainees, Raksha shouted at them, You 3. He pointed to Brett, Ornelia, and Quinnell, who has the most muscular body of the Simcoe. Muscular looking, but oddly less adept at feats strength than many others. Those are yours, Falconer Ellis. All of you, show me your best. No cowardly holding back your blows out of misplaced respect for an officer. We do not accept ritualistic respect. That is for freeborns. We prefer only that respect due for us that we have earned. That should be clear enough for even nestlings like you. Falconer Joanne, Falconer Ellis. The 9 chosen members of the Sibkim moved closer to each other, all of them facing Falconer Joanne nervously, about 15 meters away. Elsa's trio was grouped similarly. Aiden felt Martha's shoulder against his. The shorter Endo stood slightly in the back of him. You seem to cower, Iasis, Falconer Joanne said. Please smile on her face. You know, some of these contexts, some of these paragraphs out of context sound ranchy. When I tell you that has been most of this damn book, we have already had 2 instances where I had to skip things or basically just go, I'm not reading that because YouTube will ban me off the website permanently, which is probably why nobody else has read this book out loud on the internet, I don't think. How the Clan's Dresser combat is also ranchy. I mean, look, it's not like I don't have that. Like, look, this is my normal, like, this is the one based off Natasha Karinsky's jumpsuit. But I have the other one, which is the cooling suit, which is basically what you're thinking of. As a member of the IRA, I'd much prefer the English having lost to the French. I mean, look, the French are not known for their fighting feats. I'm sorry. Or at least in the history that the versions I've seen anyway. Annika, no. No. What? Heads up, there's a couple of scenes of coupling that the author sticks purposely in poetic metaphor. Alpha, what's wrong? Alpha.
You started talking about the French.
Oh. What's wrong with the French?
Hon. We baguettes, we so vendor.
You know what? I'll eat a piece of bread to that. French in war, Labrador Retriever. France is actually rather based with their military.
The only thing the French are good at fighting is their government. I know.
Look up Napoleon. The French took over the continent of Europe, then lost to Russian winter. Yes, because you might be able to...
because invading Russia in the winter is a totally sound plan.
It only failed like 3 fucking times in most of modern known history. Like, Napoleon failed. Charlie Chaplin looked like failed. And wasn't there there was some other one that was trying to invade into Russia.
Russia can't even invade Russia in the winter. Who are we kidding?
Yeah, and everyone kept showing up in the fucking summer and then trying to set up their supply line and then going, ah, shit, we're running out of time. We're going into winter. I'll be fine. We'll just pack a few coats. And meanwhile, their equipment is freezing out in the cold.
Bold of you to assume they didn't fall off before World War I.
What do you mean? Never mind. Are you screamers taken too soon from your nest? Tender of the hood, pulling at the jest and unable to hack, even to be at hack safely. The terms belonged to falconry. Being at hack was a time of liberty and exploration before the bird was trained to hunt. A Jessie and a leather thong was tied to a hooded bird during its block during periods of inactivity. Aiden threw the comparisons uncomfortably apt for the cadets and even trained warriors. You heard the commander. Fight, you free birth mutants. Fight, you Another low term, sometimes used when it was discovered that there were inferior strains in the Sibco's DNA makeup. They're going hard over here. Aiden looked past Joanne at the many other groups of trainees in the huge field. Some of them were now already marching away from the landing site. In the distance, he could see another brawl going on. Closer were two groups whose members were lying on the ground, with the training officers urging them back to consciousness and mobility. The wind had died down, but the air was still bitter cold. Far away, he noticed for the first time a chain of raggedy mountains that looked like a line of teeth, littered, he feared, with bodies of Esser White trainees. You, Falconer Joanne shouted, pointing to Endo. There's no use hiding behind your fellows. Step out, cadet. Endo walked around Aiden. He was obviously trembling. There was more likely that the frigid temperature than fear. No doubt he did feel fear, like Aiden, but it would be unciv to show it, especially to a warrior like Joanne. Endo opened his mouth as to speak, but Joanne's scornful glare made him think better of it. Remember not to address me, she said softly. Then, with a punch that was not at all telegraphed, she hit him in the stomach. Not just hit him, but dug her fist into extra flesh as hard as she could while grabbing his hair and yanking his head back. She was still wearing her metal-studded falconry gloves, calling his own pain when Joanne had gut punched him. Aiden winced in how that blow must have hurt Endo. You are allowed to hit me, Surat. Surat was a lonesome word, a name out of disgust, monkey-like creature. Hit me, Surat. Hit me. Endo reared back, grunted, and attempted a roundhouse. Right, that, if successful, would have addled Joanne's brain for a moment, but she was too quick for him. She blocked the punch and dug her fist into the exact place on his belly. Endo's face turned red. She pushed him away. He stumbled back, grasping for breath. It's a winged monkey. Sivkin, I'm stuck. There's going to be so many clips from this stream of me saying the most out-of-pocket shit because of this damn book didn't even have the best. So it's canon during the point where tech really fell off in the Battletech universe. Most mech warriors went into battle with cooling vests and underwear. Pretty much, yep. Standing straight, Falconer Joanne ceremoniously removed her gloves and casually tossed them onto the ground. I do not need these. Not against nestlings like you. She squared away, her body loose and ready. Her eyes scanned the still members of the Sibco, who had now edged together. Passed out, Indo was splayed on the ground in front of them. Suddenly, Joanne ran at the group, yelling, "This is a free-for-all. Fight, you drooling fools." She hit Brett with a forearm chop across the bridge of his nose. Then she headbutted him while kicking at Nella, making contact with the spot that might have been more painful for a male, but nonetheless made Arnell double up. Do you still suck the tea, cadets? That is a wild thing to say. Whoever wrote this was obviously very frustrated. Yes, they were. Joanne yelled, "Fight me." Both Aiden and Martha accepted this challenge. Aiden leapt at Falconer Joanne, his arms flailing as a diversion maneuver. She brought up her arms to block the expected blow at the last minute. He drew his arms in, lowered his head, and butted her just below the breasts. Yep, this person was very frustrated when they wrote this. A famous character met their future wife by capturing her and her mech. All she had on were basically the boots. Yeah, this
is Grayson Carlisle, if I recall correctly.
Probably so, yeah.
If it wasn't Jamie Bull, I'm pretty sure that's Carlisle.
Yeah. He had been aiming for her stomach, so when his head hit her ribcage, he was momentarily stunned. Martha, in the meantime, maneuvering from a position to Joanna's left, missed a grab at her neck, but managed to get a hold of her upper arm. Twist the arm back. Joanne laughed. Tug and tussle do not work here, whelp. No trick, no diversion. With just a demonstration of her own strength, she brought her arm back to its former position, then moving so quick that Martha was caught by surprise. Joanne flung her body at Martha, knocking the cadet back with a shoulder blow that caught Martha the tip of her chin. Martha reeled, eyes dazed, now recovering. Aiden saw what she was definitely out of the fight. Yeah, that's him. Didn't want to spoil it. That was the scene at Signet Thunder Rift.
I was right.
Is that how you got your girlfriend, Annika? We were kind of thinking about that, but it's basically just
I won you in a bachal.
She won me in a bachal. Other way around, got it. Yes. No, I got it.
Trial of possession, so to speak. How is it you and me channel instead of that?
Martha was caught by surprise. Joanne flung her body. I already went through that. With a yell that would have frightened a normal person, he rushed at Falconer Joanne. The cry did not, of course, face Joanne. Leaping, letting out a scream that did scare Aiden, she sent him dizzy with a kick to the head. Around him, the Sibco had come to life, and as he fell, they all tried to pounce on the Falconer, reacting quickly to evade their summering assault. She managed to make contact with her fists, elbows, knees, had all of her destructive body parts dealing blows that bruised, stung, and pained, even injured her attackers. Waddling back into melee when she was freed, Joanne quickly dispatched the remaining Sipkin. And soon stood over the groaning, squirming mass of cadets. She stared all around her, her cruel eyes daring any of the downfall to try again. Aiden stood. He stood and rushed at her with all the strength left in his legs. As he reached her, she brought the forearm up to ward off the weak blow that was intended as a fiend, but he brought his other arm around, slower than what he wanted. She dealt him a punishing backhand right without bothering to ward off his other attack. Another couple of punches, and Aiden was down on the ground again. Above him, his eyes sent out the dare again. Aiden dared. Pulling himself to his feet, swaying from side to side, he clasped both hands together, rushing forward, managing to hit Joanne on the side and her face with the conjoined hands. The impact seemed to surprise the falconer, who had arrogantly made no attempt to defend herself against the onslaught. She stumbled sideways, but regained her footing, turned to him, smiling. Smile was peculiar, though her eyes remained scornfully cruel. Her smile was pleased. It was almost appealing. She walked towards him, the smile becoming friendly. She held out her hand. I see you do not like me, cadet. Good. I admire your tenacity. Did you appreciate the Shirley ramps? Yes, I did. Yes, I did. After hearing Joanne from the lore tubers, I understand why everyone likes her. Joanne was many teenagers' first introduction to the Dommy Mommy archetype. That is a hell of a way to get introduced to that.
They are not wrong in the slightest bit.
Not at all. With her outstretched hand, she took his hand, holding it for a moment, then releasing it without rearing back or giving any indication of the punch that was coming. She jabbed him in the nose with the other hand, and he felt something break. She hit him again in the same place, and the pain was so bad he could not see straight, or rather, he could see too well. Too many images. The third punch sent him back to the ground. He looked up to see Falconer Joanne standing over him. Are you through yet, nestling? He tried to sit up, and she gently pushed him down. This time he stayed there. This one might test out all the way, she said to Falconer Ellis, who now stood beside her. She spoke. She was putting on the Falconer gloves. Star-shaped studs got some light and sparkle. She held out each glove, palm towards her, directly in front of her face. She pulled it on, grimacing as she stretched it to make it tight. He does not, as you saw, give up easily. Let's make his stay especially difficult. Compliments gave Adrian no pleasure. He was not sure he wanted her approval. He was sure he hated her. She might have said more about him, but things blurred and he passed out. It's probably not unconscious long. The next thing he knew, he and the others were being hauled to their feet by their now business-like training officers. Aiden felt around his tunic pocket for something to wipe away the blood, tasted on his lips. He found nothing. He must be content to let the blood dry. His fellow Sipkin were now standing, confused and in pain. Well, Commander Teroshak, said as he strolled among the Simcoe. Joanna and Ellis have taught you something already. It's more to combat than your acrobatics, but rather the absurd struggles. A battle mech does not move gracefully, nor is its jumping particularly acrobatic. Entertain us no longer with your morning exercises. We expect real effort from you, not ballet. Falconers, line them up and march them out. Pushing and shoving, the Falconers managed to get the Sibco into 2 swing, but relatively even lines. She gently pushed him down, gave Adrian no pleasure. Stop it. Stop it. Stop it. Joanne has moments with another older Jade Falcon woman. I am in Jade Falcon. That puts me in a gay panic. Girl, I get what you mean, because I kind of feel the same way about Melissa Steiner as far as like House Steiner. And yet I know that Next Generation is just the death of the inner sphere in that way. It's a long walk to your barracks. You'll march every step of the way, in double time. Adrian cannot imagine walking for long, much less marching, but as soon as Joanne gave the command, put his left foot forward briskly, some hatred of Joanne keeping him going, he somehow kept up with her. He had to. Whenever he did not, she kicked him in the nearest leg with the sharp metal toe of her boot. At one point, they just had to join the mass of the other marching cadets, and Joanne tapped with her glove and said softly, "You are mine, cadet." Well, that's not terrifying at all.
And it's going exactly where you think it is.
That is terrifying. We are moving along. I will destroy you or make you the best damn mech warrior of all these Zipcos. I will probably destroy you. You will fail. Her words angered him. Never, he said defiantly. She pulled him out of line and threw him to the ground. You are not to address me or any other officer. Are you understand? He had not forgotten about that rule. He had chosen to answer Joanne without looking at her, stand up, and ran to catch up with the others to retake his place in line. The march was long. There were times where Aiden could feel such pain in his legs that he could only take one more step, and then another step after that. Every muscle in his body had discovered its own private, selfish ache. He was competing with the others to be biggest single pain of his lifetime. He began to walk with his eyes closed, sensing direction and pace from the Sipkim front and behind of him. Finally, there was a shouted halt. 2 falconers now stood in front of them, eyeing them with disdain. Terror shock had disappeared. Aiden could not remember seeing him any time during the march. He had to try to relax his body, but he could feel every bruise that Joanne had left there. Plus some pains he could not have logically... No! Joanne took off her gloves and hooked them to her belt. Frail-looking man in a tech jumpsuit brought her a towel. She pulled it out of his hands roughly, even though he was offering it to her. She seemed not to mind her rudeness. Methodically, she wiped away the sweat from her body, first burying her face in the towel, then scraping it back and forth on her neck, vigorously rubbing it around her glistened arms. I can't even. This book is going to get me in so much trouble. Did that once in basic. We were basically on a ruck march at night, and I definitely fell asleep marching for a little while. Yep, it's always fun. She threw the towel to the ground, where the tech quickly picked it up, and retreated. Joanne, meanwhile, eyed the new trainees contemptuously. For a moment, her gaze stopped Adrian, and she nodded. For years, he had spent most of his time with the Sibco and their Sib parents, the older warriors whose combat was behind them. They were in charge of the education and training for the Sibco's childhood and adolescence. Sib parents had been tough, but the Sibco had come to love them. He felt that he would never feel such affection for Joanne. Well, you may be forced into that. He was too frightened of her for that. Oh, trust me, that does not matter, especially to somebody like that. It was the first time he had felt fear for another. Looking around him, saw his fear duplicated on his Sibco's faces as if imprinted there, a new expression upon their faces that already resembled each other. They were assigned their barracks, a thinly walled wooden building with visible cracks through which to get the wind blasted. The falconers told them to get undressed and get some sleep in their assigned bunks. There'd be uniforms in the morning at the beginning of training. After tomorrow, Falconer Ellis said in his rough voice, today's activities will seem like a frolic to you. Inside the supposedly indestructible boots, Aiden's feet felt less eternal. When he released them from the footwear, the arches arched. That's what it says. I did not dyslexia that. The toes were blood-stained. The heels were showing calluses the size of pebbles. After undressing, he literally fell into his bunk. His thin, uncomfortable mattress stank of fears and memories of the generations of cadets that had been there. It seemed to him condemned to this place at other times. Even with this scratchy blanket wrapped around him, he could not get warm. He wished he could go to Martha and snuggle to her for warmth, take her in his arms. Adrian was asleep before he could take this comforting, not warming fantasy to its logical conclusion. And I feel like that's exactly where that was going. I think we're going to stop there because I am kind of regretting it.
I told you, and you haven't even hit the dirty shit yet.
Oh no. The Falcon commander is sweating no. At least half this book is innuendo. Yes, it is.
It's not even innuendo. There is some explicitness.
Anka, if it makes you feel any better, I accidentally got my language teacher to buy and read 50 Shades of Grey, and she never got into any trouble, so you should be fine reading this on YouTube. How? I feel bad admitting it, but at least she recommends a book reading challenge. Now, Jade Falcon's Trilogy is the thirstiest Battletech books I've seen. They're worse, I don't know. 50 Shades is a horrid representation of King. Just, yeah, it's not great. No, I agree with you there. Well, it shows the dynamics of the Battletech universe. Yeah, it's definitely showing some dynamics, all right. It's definitely showing... Okay, but there was no subtlety with that one. Something, internal ammo explosion detected.
Oh, Joanne, your experience is an internal ammo explosion from Jade.
Okay, no, we are...
You're only about a chapter away from that one.
I think we're going to wrap up before I get completely banned off this website. I would like to thank Nova Cat, Silent Tone, Blue Nova, Wolf Hedra, Wimps, my fake internet name, Apples and Pears, Fan of Fuses, Alpha, let's see, who else is here today? Northern Sales, Calm Computer, Legionum, and I want to say thank you to every single one of you palettes. Whether you're in chat or just lurking in the background, I want to say thank you to each and every single one of you. It's always a pleasure to fight by your side. And as always, this has been Call Sign Anka, signing out.
Next chapter.